whole crew. Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us. It's great to stand up here with some of the most influential and amazing women from across our state. We are all here to say, frankly, that we've had enough trying to erase women and girls, enough denying our biological differences from men, and enough of the craziness that is taking over our country. I've had the honor of being both the first woman and the first mother to serve as the governor of Arkansas. Before that, I was the first mother and only the third woman to serve as the White House press secretary. Because of that, I came into this role with a few pretty unique experiences. Among them is giving birth to 3 amazing kids. That experience underscored to me that a woman's perspective is important and fundamentally different from a man's. Nowadays, though, only conservatives seem to be making that point. On the left, women have taken a back seat to political correctness. It's why Senator Irving and Representative Barker had to pass the Fairness in Women's Sports Act to defend our girls across the state. They're using nonsense words to erase women and girls, and more importantly, to erase our voices and our experiences. Today, we're taking a stand against woke nonsense. What frankly started as a fad among grad students has seeped down into corporations, the healthcare industry.
They say that America is divided politically, and we kind of agree. There's the dumb, and then there's us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that too harsh for the little snowflakes?
This is Right, Left, and Center. This is Right, Left, and Center. No matter what's going on in today's news, politics, social, environment, culture, we're talking about it unabashedly. Real, raw, direct, and funny. Let's rock. This is Right, Left, and Center. And this is your host, Will Jackson.
Welcome back, folks, for another week of Right, Left, and Center. I am your host, the Honorable Will Jackson. We're going to have fun, so I hope you got yours. I got mine. Yeah, I had to make sure I had my candy because this is going to be a long one, folks. We're going to talk about Republican Congress, Jim Jordan, Gates, McCarthy. We're going to talk about Austin Scott. You know, that motherfucker from Georgia, election denier from the 8th District. We also going to talk about Tommy Tuberville. We're going to talk about this wokeness that, oh man, yeah, I'll get into that. But for whatever reason, all these mega rights always want to talk about something they have no clue about, and I'll prove it. We're going to talk about Trump, his indictments, and the House of Cards. All right, folks, let's get into this. So, I don't know how many damn times I have to mention this. Now, before I even get started, I need to remind folks that I am not that guy. I've gotten emails where people have asked me, say, well, Will, when you say you're not that guy, you're on the edge of saying things to offend people and et cetera. You know, first of all, let me clear that up. I'm not on the edge of offending anybody. My mission is to piss you the fuck off and offend you every chance I get. Because ignorance and stupidity just does not cut it in this world. And it's been proven by the Republican far right. Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm not going to put all Republicans into one basket, and you'll see why. But let me explain why I'm not that guy. For my newer listeners, I am not that guy because I just simply tell the truth. I'm going to call you on the carpet. I don't care if you're black, Hispanic, Asian, white. If you're in politics, if you're not in politics, if you're in big business, if you're not in big business, I don't care who the fuck you are. I'm calling you out because the bottom line is this. Many of us and many of my listeners are at the bottom of the totem pole. And you tell us we have a voice and we don't have a voice. And you still tell us we don't have a voice even when you use a certain language or a certain word that you just simply don't have any fucking clue about. I mean, it's just crazy to continue to talk about over the past year and a half. All I've been talking about is wokeness, because that's all that's coming out. And let me be clear, and I'm going to be honest. It's only coming out of rich white folks' mouth. It's just that simple. And when it comes out of their mouth, it's not coming out correct, which really pisses me off. Okay? So let's dive into this. So I'm gonna play something for you. And I think this was on CNN or MSNBC, something like that. I forget. And I do apologize. I didn't look at the titles or anything like that. But this is how a white woman on the far right describes woke.
Would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
This is going to be one of those moments that goes viral. I mean, woke is something that's very hard to define, and we've spent an entire chapter defining it. It is sort of the understanding that we need to totally reimagine and redo society in order to create hierarchies of oppression. It's hard to explain in a 15-second soundbite.
Yeah, look, your time.
So, there's plenty of time to describe wokeness. You dumbass bitch. See, I'll explain it. And for those of you who have missed previous episodes, I'll explain it to you and I'll break it down. It's an AAVE. Okay? And for those of you who do not know what AAVE is, it's an American, African-American vernacular. Or in today, I just say black vernacular. BV. See, woke is an adjective derived from the African-American vernacular. It's just basically stay woke. Of injustice. Watch your political surroundings. Watch the police. Watch, how you are treated as an individual. Okay? A black individual. It had nothing to do with gay. It had nothing to do with poor whites. It had nothing to do with Hispanics. It had nothing to do with any of them. It's a black vernacular. Okay? It's now in the Oxford Dictionary. Huckabee. Sanders, look the shit up. Trump, look the shit up. All you motherfuckers out there on the far right, Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, The list can go on and on and on. Will somebody reach out to these motherfuckers and tell them to look it up before they open their fucking mouth? See, Marcus Garvey used it best. And for those of you who do not know who Marcus Garvey is a political activist for blacks, hailed from Jamaica, who at one time held the title the most dangerous black man in America. And the reason why is because he was educated and smart, and he was bringing people to the fold along with the rest of the black leaders, saying, hey, stay woke. Educate yourself when people tell you can't be educated. Watch for social injustice. Know your rights to vote. Don't let the police officer corner you and hold you down or sick the attack dog on you. Stay woke. Don't allow a bunch of white people to hang you over something stupid. Stay woke. See, that is the meaning of woke. And it's sad when you have white people on television who don't seem to understand what woke is and use it in the wrong context. Now, people of alternate lifestyles have picked it up to use it in their own way. All right, happy for you. But let me explain something to you, and I'm gonna piss off a lot of my listeners who are transsexual, who are gay, lesbians. You know what? I love you all, but you know the bottom line is, don't use it when you don't know what it's for. That's the thing that burns my fucking goat, is when you have a bunch of people using, and it has been over years and years where blacks have been treated very bad. And now you're taking our words and you're trying to put our words into what you feel woke is. Bitch, please. See, woke started in the 1920s, 1910s, just right after the freedmen of slaves. Hell, at that time, you know, you needed to be woke. You need to be woke so you can make your way up north and head into Canada so you're not lynched. You know, a lot of the folks, black folks, have ran the Underground Railroad all the way up to Northeast Ohio. People. Do not use a word. That's just like me saying, instead of using this word in a proper context. So we were in a meeting and we were chopping up ideas, but yet no one knew how to mitigate what was before us. Now, let's use the word mitigate in a different context. Man, I ran down the street and tripped and mitigated. See how stupid that sounds? That's how stupid a lot of you far right Republicans who do not understand this word. Quit using something that don't belong to you. More after this.
Have you been looking for a podcast that takes you beyond the headlines? A show that challenges you. A show that's real, raw, and unapologetic. Then you've found your new home. Right, Left, and Center.
Right, Left and Center.
News, the environment, immigration, politics, the criminal justice system, and everything in between. Join Will Jackson every week, your personal guide to understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Listen everywhere podcasts are available. You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it.
Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
Man, I tell you what, that music just motivates me. Just got me like, ooh, ooh, ooh. So, let's talk about the House of Cards and let's break it down. So, here we are, 15 days, 17 days since Speaker of the House. McCarthy got booted by Gates. Everybody's blaming Gates. For the life of me, I don't know why everybody is blaming Gates. Okay. McCarthy put himself in that position. But what I do blame is the Republican Party. You guys, I'll say it, Democrats get on TV and they keep trying to sugarcoat it and sugarcoat it and sugarcoat it. I'm just going to say it and call it what it is. You motherfuckers are dumb. You guys can't manage your own caucus. How are you going to manage the House? You can't do it. There's so much infighting and hatred and division. And then on top of that, you got some of these far-right Republicans that are blaming the Democrats for their misfortunes. No, let me explain something to you. The Democratic Party do not want the House to be non-functional. We do not want that. Any moderate or conservative, whether it be Republican or Democrat, the real Republicans that are adults don't want to see the government shut down. And for whatever reason, for every congressional session, House session, when people are voted in and sworn in, when there is a majority of Republicans, it's always the Republicans who are pushing us to the point where the government is going to get shut down and we don't have the funding for our national security interests. We don't have any of that. It's the Republicans. It's the far right Republicans. See, I can't make this up. I mean, everyone's seen the news, but I'm going to say what they can't say on the news. You sound stupid. Stop blaming Hakeem Jeffries and a Democratic Party. First of all, it is not the Democratic Party who is responsible for ensuring the election of a Republican-led House Speaker. It is not. And so, which leads me to this. So, Ohio, my home state. All of you individuals in the state of Ohio who secure votes for Jim Jordan, you need to really rethink that. You do. And if you can't rethink that, then I'm a firm believer that just like convicts, when they can't vote, you should not be allowed to vote. See, stupidity should not be allowed to vote. And for the life of me, and that just tells me what kind of state I'm in, because when you have a congressman like Representative Jim Jordan, I'm not going to say honorable because there's nothing honorable about that bitch. Everybody know I don't like him. But when you sit there and you back his play, now here's a crazy thing. He's burned so many damn bridges in the Republican Party that he could not secure votes. In fact, as it went on, he lost votes. He made history. Just like Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy made history because he was the first speaker in over 100 years who was removed from his seat by his own doing. And then Jim Jordan made history by being the only Republican ever to not receive the votes to win the speakership. First of all, Democrats were not going to vote for somebody in the Republican Party when they can vote for their man, Hakeem Jeffries. That's 212 votes. That's an area code. That's 212. Right off the bat. All New York. In the House. That's what it is. And yet you want to keep bringing this thing back to the table. For what? You keep blaming. In fact, here's a soundbite for you.
The House remains speakerless. Congressman Jim Jordan coming up short today in his second bid for the gavel. In fact, he lost even more support from members of his own party this time around. But a spokesman for the Ohio Republican says he will keep going. Joining me now is Georgia Congressman Austin Scott, who lost the conference nomination to Jordan last week, but is now firmly behind Jim Jordan. Sir, thanks so much for being with us. Should he keep going? Should Jim Jordan continue as his aides say he will?
Oh, yeah, I think he's going to continue. And if you remember what happened last time, I think it took Speaker McCarthy somewhere around 14 rounds. Brianna, we shouldn't be in this position. I mean, 208 Democrats voted with 8 Republicans to put us here.
But let me ask you, sir, McCarthy was never in a hole this deep.
I'm sorry?
McCarthy was never in a hole this deep.
But Speaker McCarthy was elected, and he was the Speaker of the House. He was the largest Republican fundraiser ever. For us as House Republicans. I mean, the Democrats knew what they were doing when they put up 208 votes to take him out of the speakership, and that's what created the current situation that we're in. So then we had a conference meeting.
They didn't take him out of the speakership. I mean, you guys are
sure
the
they
majority.
did.
But you guys are the majority, right?
96% of the votes came from Democrats, though, Brianna. I mean, just factually speaking, there were only 8 Republicans. And there were 208 Democrats. I mean, 208 Democrats.
But, sir, who's in the majority?
Well, the Democrats were the majority of that vote. And when we have a very
who's
small
in the
margin,
majority in the House of Representatives?
the Republicans are in the majority, but the Democrats provided the majority of the votes to take Kevin McCarthy out of the speakership. In fact, they provided 96% of the votes.
Republicans provided the key votes. They're in the majority. They can provide enough votes, obviously, to put a Republican speaker
Brianna,
in
the
place.
Democrats provided 96% of the votes. 208 Democrats voted to remove the Republican Speaker of the House. 8 Republicans voted to remove the Republican Speaker of the House. So 96% of the votes came from Democrats to remove the Republican Speaker of the House.
I will say I find
the
it
largest fundraiser that we've ever had. They knew what they were doing.
It's some interesting verbal gymnastics. I will give you that. But I want to talk about the future here.
What do you mean gymnastics? I'm just talking about the facts. 208 Democrats voted. There was the vast majority of the vote to take Kevin McCarthy out of the speakership.
Well, I'm talking about how it works. And that is that the majority in the House of Representatives, your party, is responsible for electing the speaker, not the Democrats.
We are.
Do you think, can I ask you this, do you think that there's going to be another vote today? Because we're uncertain on that.
I absolutely believe there will be another vote today. And, I don't know exactly what time that will be. But I'm not sure what I'm missing here with you, because 208 Democrats voted with 8 Republicans to take the largest Republican fundraiser out of the speakership. This was a pretty calculated decision by the Democrats. I get it. It was 8 Republicans.
Here's why, sir, because it was a Republican who filed the motion to vacate.
It was a Republican that had very, very personal differences with Kevin McCarthy.
All right, so Jordan lost 22 Republicans. That, at this point, is net. He's lost 3 more. He gained 1 from the votes before. What is your message to these 22 who are still against Jordan?
I think it's time to seat a Republican speaker. We've got work to do. We need to seat a Republican speaker. Nobody is going to get, let me say it this way, everybody's not going to get the person that they want, right? I mean, we have people that are voting for Kevin. We have people that are voting for Steve. We have people that are voting for people other than the Republican nominee. I mean, what got us into this position is people who did not abide by the rules of the Republican conference. Those 8 people that voted with the 208 Democrats to create the current scenario we're not following the rules of the conference. I mean, our rules are that you should abide by whoever wins the conference, and that didn't happen this past week, and now we're in the situation that we're in. But let's not forget that 208 Democrats voted to vacate the Speaker's chair.
Yes, as you've said. So, how would you describe this? So, as you mentioned, in your party, they're not following, obviously, how they normally do things. What is going on? You know, how do you describe this? And do you worry that it's going to cost your party the majority?
I absolutely worry that it's going to cost us the majority. I mean, it is part of this has got to do with outside groups raising tremendous sums off of the chaos. Part of it has got to do with a lack of journalism. If someone goes to Fox News, they're going to see one thing. If they go to CNN, they're going to see something totally opposite of that. And so part of it is symbolic of the times that we're living in. Part of it is symbolic of how the districts are drawn. And we've got people in districts that Trump won by 20 points that want people who are in districts that Biden won to vote the exact same way they do. So part of this is just democracy, and democracy's messy, but it's better than anything else that's out there.
All right, so let me work my way backwards. There is nothing symbolic about this. Okay? All right, so if someone is near Austin Scott at the time of listening to this, have this bitch listen to this. Okay? Because he not only looks like he on crack, but he sounds like he on crack. He needs to listen to Biggie Smalls' 10 Crack Commandments, because dude is on something. And you folks that are in the 8th district in Georgia, who he represents, you are on something if you support him for another term. It's that simple. He doesn't, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if he can't read or wrote or read, but, and I don't know if he believes that 2 + 2 = 16, but for the life of me, it's people like Austin Scott, who is a Trumper, loyalist, actually believes that the Democratic Party should not have voted with the gang of 8, the 8 misfits of the Republican far right. Not to mention the other 22, which prior to that was 20. So he picked up. So let me back this up for him. So he picked up 1 and lost 2 more. Because Jim Jordan doesn't have the faith of the Republican Party. Now, of course, the Democratic Party has the faith of their leader, of Hakeem Jeffries. Now, yeah, the expanding of powers of the pro tem. I'll tell you what, listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz had to say about this.
All right, buddy. One day at a time.
So mine's about the same. If other people's levels have changed, but
Sir, what do you think about this resolution to Farmer McHenry?
I think that I'm against Speaker Light. I'm against Bud Light.
I believe it is a constitutional desecration to not elect a Speaker of the House. We need to stay here until we elect a Speaker. And if someone can't get the votes, we need to go on to the next person. But twisting and torturing the Constitution to empower a temporary speaker is having a speaker light that is not constitutionally contemplated, is deeply infirm, and I will do everything possible to stop it.
Appreciate you trying.
Yeah. You know we gotta try.
You gotta try.
Is this the poll cam?
Yes.
Yeah. I do not support this plan. Republican voters worked too hard to give us the majority for us to enter some sort of temporary speakership. Our conference has a responsibility to the American people, to our districts, to work together and unify. And this conference is absolutely broken. And the reason why we're broken is because Republicans worked with Democrats and put us here. It's outrageous. We have serious issues happening in our country. Terrorists have come across our border. War is breaking out in Israel. War is continuing in Ukraine. The economy is getting worse and worse, and inflation is crushing everyone's ability to afford to live. This is the most disappointing thing, and it has to change.
Are you disappointed to see Mr. Jordan supporting this idea?
Yeah, absolutely. We voted for him to be our speaker nominee. We only had 2 votes. I wanted to see it keep going today and find a way to work with the holdouts to get together so that we can continue doing our work. And I don't know why this is happening, so I'm very disappointed.
Did Mr. Jordan present the plan today, and will there not be a vote on his speakership?
He wants to move with a resolution to empower Patrick McHenry as some sort of a short-term speaker. I think that's the wrong thing to do. He wants to do that while he continues talking to people and finding a path. I completely disagree. I think that we should all be able to find a path in that room right there, and that requires putting the egos down. It requires humility. It requires the 8 Republicans that worked with Democrats to put us here asking for forgiveness in the conference and people giving forgiveness and us moving forward. This is not a plan for a strong majority.
No speaker vote today?
It's a resolution.
What's wrong with it as a temporary solution, though? What's wrong with just giving McHenry temporary more power just to get back in business?
I just stated all of that. I just stated it. It's just not the right thing.
So the resolution bill will be today?
Supposedly, yeah.
Do you have more confidence?
So there you have it. All right, so here's now press record because you'll never hear me say this again. I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Inflation's too high. Gas prices are too high. Interest rates are too high. And it's difficult for us Americans to actually have a sustainable life and get the funding we need for whatever we need because all the immigrants that are illegally coming across our border. Now, everyone knows that I am not a big proponent of this border crossing policy. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows how I feel about take care of home first before you can take care of anything else. I agree with her. This affects national security, the war in Israel, the other war. We need leadership. Okay, so now I agree with her on that piece. But here's where I disagree with Marjorie Taylor Greene. If all those criteria were met in selecting a Speaker of the House, it had nothing to do with the Democratic Party. It had nothing to do with the Democratic Party reaching across the aisle to Matt Gaetz. In fact, there's not a Democrat who would want to be in the same room as Matt Gaetz. Because for attorney, he's pretty damn dumb. Okay, I wouldn't hire him to be my attorney if I can afford to get an attorney. I definitely wouldn't hire his monkey ass. Because first of all, you know what? And this is where I disagree with Matt Gaetz on this front. I love Bud Light. Bud Light, I love me some Bud Light. So if I'm not drinking my vodka, I'm drinking my Bud Light. There's not a beer in the world that I prefer other than Bud Light. Now, Bud Light, this shout out is for you. what I'd like for you to do is sue that motherfucker for saying shit like that. Okay? Sue his ass. Because he don't like Bud Light, just like the rest of these MAGA far right extremists don't like Bud Light now because of the transsexual influencer you had on the can. Who cares? I don't care. I mean, we got better things to worry about. We got homelessness. We got sanctuary cities being overran. We've got budgets that needs to be met, programs that need to be funded. And they're more concerned about just pointing the finger at the Democrats in the Democratic Party than actually them themselves. And then they keep saying, well, the Senate is not passing their resolutions, not passing their bills and turning them into law. Well, here's the reason why. Because there are sensible Republicans, unlike Lindsey Graham, and then sensible Democrats, unlike that fucker from West Virginia, I forget his name, who actually understands, what works for the American people, what we need to do they're playing politics the right way. They're jockeying positions for their constituents. These senators are working hard every day to ensure that they, one, do what they can to help keep the government open. They're looking at bipartisanship on national and global security and looking after our partners and friends, such as Israel, okay, and calling other countries to the carpet because they're not doing what they need to do to help support. That's what the great senators, are doing. Okay, say what you want to say about a lot of the Republican senators. Say whatever you want to say. Have your own personal feeling, but here's the truth of it. They know how to get shit done, and they are focused on working to get things done. You don't hear the Republican senators going after the Democratic senators at no point. You don't even see it. You don't hear it. You don't have none of that. If there's a problem with a bill, they fight and getting the votes for a particular bill to turn it into law. Then that's what they do. Now, Ohio, I haven't forgot about you. All you Jim Jordan supporters, this is why you should not support Jim Jordan. No one in the Republican Party in the House will support Jim Jordan. He doesn't have the votes, will never have the votes because he's an extremist. He is part of that Freedom Caucus who just wants to burn shit down. He doesn't care about black folks. He doesn't care about poor white folks. He doesn't care about poor folks in general. He don't care about any of that. And oh, by the way, he still uses that word woke, and he is a election denialist. He denies that the election was legit. He would have been the worst to put as speaker in the speakership. Now, I'm going to tell you something now. Now you have, I think it's 8 or 10, and out of 8 or 10 that are going to be in this meeting tomorrow to figure out who they're going to vote for, one of the leading candidates is actually Austin Scott from Georgia, 8th District. They don't have the votes, and he actually mentioned that. And he caught himself. They don't have the votes for anybody in the House Republican Party to become Speaker of the House. Here's a message to you moderates, Republicans, you liberal Republicans. Here's a message for you. Take those votes, Get them to Hakeem Jeffries so business can get started. Because if not, here's what's going to happen. One, the government is going to shut down. Thousands upon thousands of federal employees will be furloughed. Us vets who have medical appointments will not be able to attend those medical appointments because those facilities may be shut down. For us vets who are retired and who are 100% disabled, we will not receive that monthly income that we so desperately count on. And that's because it's not because the Democratic Party decided to continue to vote for Hakeem Jeffries. It's because is not because the Gang of Eight or the Gang of Idiots decided to work with the Democratic Party. It has nothing to do with that. The Democratic Party is going to vote straight down the line. 212, 212, 212. It's been happening each and every time through this year, which is sad. Over what? 18, 19 votes, 20 votes, I guess, for House Speaker in 1 year. And you're blaming it on the Democrats. The bottom line is this: Ohio, get your shit together. You can have whatever personal thought or feeling you want. You can be racist as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a damn. But do the right thing and get this government open. Call your local legislators. Call your state legislators to reach out to the federal legislators to get them to do something. Because if you don't, you're going to be stuck like Chuck, just like the rest of us, especially you seniors. Those of you who are over 62. How would you like it if no money is deposited in your account because fuckers like Jim Jordan and the rest of the damn crazy caucus is holding everything up? I guarantee you'll be ready to light a fire into somebody's ass. More after this.
Have you been looking for a podcast that takes you beyond the headlines? A show that challenges you. A show that's real, raw, and unapologetic. Then you've found your new home. Right, Left, and Center.
Right, Left, and Center.
News, the environment, immigration, politics, the criminal justice system, and everything in between. Join Will Jackson every week, your personal guide to understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Listen everywhere podcasts are available. You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it.
Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
All right, Ms. Powell, I just have a few questions for you. Do you understand the nature of the charges that have been reaccused and that you would be pleading guilty to today?
I do, sir.
And you've heard all the rights that the state has gone through that you would waive by going forward with this plea. Do you still wish to waive those rights?
I do.
And are you pleading guilty today because you agree that there is a sufficient factual basis, that there are enough facts that support this plea of guilty?
I do.
Mr. Rafferty, are you satisfied your client is competent in understanding that the plea is voluntary and that there is a sufficient factual basis for entering this plea?
Yes, Your Honor.
I agree and find that there is a sufficient factual basis, and I find this plea of guilty to be knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently entered. There's been a request that this sentence be entered under the First Offender Act, and the court will approve that request, withhold adjudication. But I must notify you, Ms. Powell, that you're not allowed to withdraw your plea simply because you do not comply with the terms of the sentence. And the terms of that sentence would be as recommended by the parties. On count 1, conspiracy to commit intentional interference with the performance of election duties, the sentence would be 12 months probation. And counts 2 through 6 would also be 12 months probation consecutive to each other and to count 1 for a total term of essentially 6 years probation, but we're going to translate that into months for the sentence sheet. Special conditions would include a $6,000 fine with $1,000 for each count, restitution to be paid in the amount of $2,700 to the Georgia Secretary of State's office. You are to have written a letter, which you've already satisfied. You're also to provide a recorded proffer with the state, which you've already satisfied. You're to testify truthfully against any and all co-defendants in this matter at any upcoming proceedings. You are not to have any communication with any witness, any co-defendant, or any member of the media concerning the facts or circumstances of this case. And you're to provide all documents to the district attorney's office as requested and relevant to this case. Again, Ms. Young, I would ask if you could provide the state's recitation of the exact phrasing of these, and we'll make sure that's reflected in the final disposition form. In order to make this sentence consistent with Mr. Hall, I do believe it would be appropriate, and I'm willing to include the language involving moral turpitude, although that language being included on the sentence may not ultimately have any effect on the entities responsible for actually determining that. Are there any other express conditions and special conditions, Ms. Young, that you would like to see reflected on this sentence?
I think you covered it, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Rafferty, is there anything else that you think needs to be on the record today? Ms. Young, do the state have an announcement regarding the indictment in this case?
Yes, Your Honor. The state will be entering a null pros order on indictment number 23 SC 188947 as it applies to Ms. Powell.
All right. Well, upon being provided a copy of that motion, I will sign it and the charges in the indictment will be dismissed. All right. If there's nothing else, then we will conclude this and be off the record. Good luck, Ms. Powell.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. Let's go on the record with 23 SC 188947, State versus Kenneth Chesbro. We had begun our jury selection process this morning, but I've been informed that there is a change of plea. Is that correct, Mr. Wade?
That's correct, Judge.
Is that correct, Mr. Grumman?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Is this negotiated?
It is, Judge.
All right. And in that case, whenever counsel are ready, and wherever is most convenient to Mr. Chesbro, you can stay seated, use that microphone or that microphone, but we could swear in Mr. Chesbro and proceed with the colloquy.
Do you want me at the podium, Judge?
Well, I think he's going to take the podium, so why don't we have you there?
Sorry. You stand right there.
Okay. Probably need you where we can hear you. Oh, did we really?
Yes, okay. I can stand. Can you hear me from here? Okay, cool. Judge, would you like me to give you the conditions of the sentence or the recommendation?
If it's negotiated, I think we can just start at the top.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Mr. Chesbro, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give should be the truth and the whole truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please lower your hand and state your true and correct legal name.
Kenneth John Chesbro.
And are you the Kenneth John Chesbro named in the indictment 23 SC 188947?
Yes.
Are you under the influence of any drugs, alcohol, or medication today?
No.
Is there any medication that you should be taking that you have not taken today?
No.
How old are you and how far did you go in school, sir?
62, I went through law school.
Are you able to read, write, and understand the English language?
Yes.
Have you gone over the indictment with your attorney, Mr. Grumman, as well as Mr. Aurora?
Yes.
Do you understand that you were originally charged in count 1 with RICO, count 9, conspiracy to commit impersonating a public officer, count 11, conspiracy to commit forgery, count 13, conspiracy to commit false filings and writings, Count 15, conspiracy to commit filing false documents. Count 17, conspiracy to commit forgery. Count 19, conspiracy to commit false statements in writings.
Yes.
Do you understand that the state that this is a negotiated plea, and as part of that agreement, the state has agreed to null pros counts 1, 9, 11, 13, 17, and 19, and will be moving forward on count 15 only?
Yes.
Has your attorney advised you of the minimum and maximum sentence for count 15, which is conspiracy to commit filing false documents?
Yes.
And do you understand that that carries a minimum of 1 year to a maximum of 5 years to serve?
I do.
Do you understand that you have the right to plead either guilty or not guilty to this charge, and if you plead not guilty or if you plead not guilty or remain silent, you may receive a jury trial?
Yes.
Have you reviewed the waiver of rights form with your attorney?
I have.
And have you signed it as well,
Yes, I have.
along with Mr. Aurora?
Yes.
Judge, if I may have. Have you had enough time to speak with your attorney, Mr. Aurora, and Mr. Grubman?
Yes.
Have you had an opportunity to talk with them about all the facts and circumstances regarding the charges in the indictment, including your potential defenses?
I have.
Do you need more time to discuss your case with either of your attorneys?
No.
And are you satisfied with their services?
Yes.
Mr. Grubman, do you waive formal reading of the indictment?
Yes.
Do you waive any and all defects that may lie within that indictment?
Yes.
Mr. Chesborough, have you been arrested on these charges that lies in indictment 23 SC 188947?
Yes.
The state is unaware of any outstanding warrants related to these charges. Do you or your attorney know of any outstanding warrants that involve these charges?
No.
Do you understand that this is a negotiated plea, which means your attorneys and the state have reached a negotiated recommendation to make to the court?
I do.
Do you understand that the court is not bound by that recommendation and could sentence you to the maximum penalty for the charges?
I do.
Do you understand that the recommendation in this particular case as to count 15, conspiracy to commit filing false documents, is 5 years to be served on probation, a $5,000 fine, and that I believe you're asking the court to treat you as a first offender, is that correct?
Yes.
I'm sorry, $5,000 restitution. You understand that?
Yes.
And do you understand also special conditions of the probation is that you complete 100 hours of community service?
Yes.
And that you write an apology letter to the citizens of the state of Georgia?
Which I have, yes.
Yes. And that you truthfully testify at all hearings and trials involving co-defendants in this matter, that you have no communication with co-defendants, witnesses, or the media until all cases have been resolved against all co-defendants?
Yes.
And do you understand that you must give a full recorded proffer with the state, that you continue to also provide documents and evidence subject to any lawful privileges asserted in good faith?
Yes.
And, Your Honor, the defendant has already done an apology letter, which the state will tender into evidence to State's Exhibit Number 1. And also this morning, Mr. Chesborough, along with counsel, did give a proffer to the state.
So there you have it. 3 down. Should Rudy Giuliani be scared? Yes, he should be, along with the rest of the defendants. Should Trump be scared? Yes, because they would not have offered them this level of a deal in the state of Georgia if they didn't have the goods on Trump. See, you remember when I told you that she's going to try all 19? She's going to try all 19, 16 to go. And as the dominoes falls in this house of cards, what happens is that more deals are made, more probation is handed out, and more information is provided to Fani Willis. Now, here's the great part of it. All you Trumpers, I've said this before. If anybody's going to put the Orange Man in jail, it will be Fani Willis and her team. Not Jack Smith, not Alvin Bragg, not Letitia James. None of the court cases that are out there. This is the most significant court case because, see, there is no pardon if you're convicted in the state of Georgia. This means he will be the only former president of the United States who is housed in solitary confinement with Secret Service. That's it. And I don't even know if he gets to retain Secret Service as a convicted felon. So you had Miss I'm going to release the Kraken and all this stuff that was going on down in Georgia. And you mean to tell me you fuckers don't believe that he's not guilty? Jim Jordan. Hey, Jim, Mr. Jordan. See, all these cats who sit there and they believe in Trump, either a part of that 700-year sentence that is taking place in the federal government, or are facing current charges or about to go to jail. Here you have Sidney Powell and what's his name? Chesebro. Kenneth Chesebro. Their law licenses are done. Their livelihood is gone. All because of a lie. House of Cards. Now, Trump's woes are not even far from done. Because not only did he violate a gag order that was issued by the judge in New York who's overseeing his fraud case, who's already said that, you know what you've done is totally unethical. And therefore, you cannot manage these properties. Not to mention, Mike Cohen's going to be testifying this week coming up. And Trump decides he wants to go be in a courtroom for what? You don't need to be there. And so he got that $5,000 fine. And also told by the judge, I will throw your ass in jail. Essentially. If you don't comply with my orders, my court orders. Now you have the Honorable Judge Chutkan in D.C., who's actually considering the gag order that Jack Smith and his team is requesting. And I guarantee you, because of the judge in New York placed that temporary or that well-isolated gag order on his ass, he's going to violate this gag order down here in New York. In D.C., if placed on that. And he's not going to. See, here's the thing. So if you notice in both Powell and Chesebro's guilty pleas, there was a clause in there called moral turpitude. And so what moral turpitude is, and I had to look this up, which definitely makes sense. It's a phrase that describes wicked, deviant behavior resulting in immoral, unethical, or unjust departure of ordinary social standards, such that it would shock a community. Well, first of all, there's nothing that Trump would do would shock the community, but this guy's moral turpitude is off the chart. I mean, he does despicable shit all the time. So if that language is put into one of the gag orders, I can almost guarantee you he will violate it. And once he violates it, he's going to get fined, and then he's going to violate it again, thinking that he's not going to go to jail because he thinks he's above the law. And oh, by the way, if any of us common folk, such as any Trumper, anybody who follows Trump, anybody who don't follow Trump, you wouldn't even be afforded the privilege. And also you Trumpers who are broke, just like me. Here's my question. Why in the hell are you still sending money to his defense fund? He doesn't give a damn about you. And there's this other lady who has been indicted. I can almost guarantee she gonna flip. She's on Pence's campaign. See, the house of cards is crumbling. And when I told you guys about a year ago that his ass is going to jail, and then when I found out that Fani Willis was doing the investigation, and I said, you know what? Screw Jack Smith, screw the Department of Justice, screw anything else that's going on, Fani Willis is going to get him, because I'm going to tell you something. He has said shit that made his followers make threats to not only to Fani Willis, but her ex-husband, her children, her mom, her friends, other family members. And I think I said this in the last episode. You know what? And I got I got well-educated black women and white women in my family. And I can almost guarantee you there is nothing worse than having a well-educated woman pissed the fuck off at you because she come in at full force methodically. And that's what's going to happen to Trump. That's what's going to take place. See, everyone thinks that this cat is in the safe zone, and I don't even understand why he's even leading in the polls. I mean, Iowa, wake the fuck up. I got a lot of listeners in Iowa. And some of you've emailed me and told me, hey, you know what, Will? Don't include us in that bullshit that's happening in Iowa because we don't get down like that. We're Republicans, but we're not like that. And I believe that. The bottom line is this. The walls are closing in. And he's about to pay this price. And everybody who followed him and decided to believe in him, who went out and did dirt, has paid the price or is about to pay the price. See, the worst thing for an attorney such as Powell and Chesborough, ask Michael Cohen. Can't get work. Nobody's going to hire. And by the way, he doesn't even pay his damn attorneys. As reported. Just saying. Wake up. Because you know what? It's no longer a bumpy ride for America. It's just a avalanche for the Trump world. More after this.
Have you been looking for a podcast that takes you beyond the headlines? A show that challenges you. A show that's real, raw, and unapologetic. Then you've found your new home. Right, left, and center.
Right, left, and center.
News, the environment, immigration, politics, the criminal justice system, and everything in between. Join Will Jackson every week, your personal guide to understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Listen everywhere podcasts are available. You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it.
Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
Yeah, I actually think that all all Republicans in the House would have benefited if they had training from Drill Sergeant Hartley. Because he would whoop you bitches into shape. Black and white. It doesn't matter to him. In fact, let's listen to a little Drill Sergeant Hartley before final words.
I am Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, your senior drill instructor. From now on, you will speak only when spoken to. And the first and last words out of your filthy sewers will be, sir. Do you maggots understand that?
Sir, yes, sir.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Sir, yes, sir.
If you ladies leave my island, if you survive recruit training, you will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death praying for war. But until that day, you are pukes. You are the lowest form of life on earth. You are not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but unorganized, grabastic pieces of amphibian shit. Because I am hard, you will not like me. But the more you hate me, the more you will learn. I am hard, but I am fair. There is no racial bigotry here. I do not look down on niggers, kites, wops, or greasers. Here you are all equally worthless. And my orders are to weed out all non-hackers who do not pack the gear to serve in my beloved corps. Do you maggots understand that?
Sir, yes, sir.
Bullshit, I can't hear you.
Sir, yes, sir.
What's your name, scumbag?
Sir, Private Brown, sir.
Bullshit, from now on you're Private Snowball. Do you like that name?
Sir, yes, sir.
Well, there's one thing that you won't like, Private Snowball. They don't serve fried chicken and watermelon on a daily basis in my mess hall.
Sir, yes, sir.
Is that you, John Wayne? Is this me?
Who said that? Who the fuck said that? Who's the slimy little communist shit twinkle-toed cocksucker down here who just signed his own death warrant? Nobody, huh? The very fucking godmother said it. Outstanding. I will PT you all until you fucking die. I'll PT you until your assholes are sucking buttermilk. Was it you scroungy little fuck, huh?
Sir, no, sir.
You little piece of shit, you look like a fucking worm. I bet it was you.
Sir, no, sir.
Sir, I said it, sir.
Well, no shit. What have we got here? A fucking comedian, Private Joker. I admire your honesty. Hell, I like you. You can come over to my house and fuck my sister. You little scumbag. I got your name. I got your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you. Now get up. Get on your feet. You had best unfuck yourself or I will unscrew your head and shut down your neck.
Sir, yes, sir.
Private Joker, why did you join my beloved corps?
Sir, to kill, sir.
So you're a killer?
Sir, yes, sir.
Let me see your war face.
Sir.
You got a war face? Ah! That's a war face. Now let me see your war face.
Ah!
Bullshit. You didn't convince me. Let me see your real war face.
Ah!
You don't scare me. Work on it.
Sir, yes, sir.
What's your excuse?
Sir, excuse for what, sir?
I'm asking the fucking questions here, Private. Do you understand?
Sir, yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Can I be in charge for a while?
Sir, yes, sir.
Are you shook up? Are you nervous?
Sir, I am, sir.
Do I make you nervous?
Sir.
Sir, what? Are you about to call me an asshole?
Sir, no, sir.
How tall are you, Private?
Sir, 5'9", sir.
5'9". I didn't know they stacked shit that high. You trying to squeeze an inch in on me somewhere, huh?
Sir, no, sir.
Bullshit. It looks to me like the best part of you ran down the crack of your mama's ass and ended up as a brown stain on the mattress. I think you've been cheated. Where in the hell are you from anyway, Private?
Sir, Texas, sir.
Holy dog shit. Texas, only steers and queers come from Texas, Private Cowboy. And you don't much look like a steer to me, so that kind of narrows it down. Do you suck dicks?
Sir, no, sir.
Are you a Peter Puffer?
Sir, no, sir.
I bet you're the kind of guy that would fuck a person in the ass and not even have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around.
You're listening to Left, Right, and Center, your audio guide to help you understand the week's news, the world, and how America shapes it. Now, back to your host, Will Jackson.
If I offended anybody, I don't give a fuck. That's Drill Sergeant Hartley out in this bitch. All right, so here's my final words. The bottom line is this. Our democracy is at stake. Here's why. Because you got a bunch of motherfuckers running around here using words they don't have an idea what that word mean. I.e. or AKA woke. So we talked about that. So for those motherfuckers still running around using the word woke, understand that it's a black vernacular. You know, like Marcus Garvey said to the Ethiopians, stay up, stay woke. That's what he said. It had nothing to do with white folks, Asian folks, Spanish folks. It had nothing to do with that. That's what it had to do with. It didn't have to do with anything about gay, lesbian, transgender. It had nothing to do with that. That's been since adopted right after that by the other nationalities. Of course, with the fight going, with the situation happening in Israel and then Palestine. Okay, I've said this time and time again. Just because I got a knucklehead on my street does not mean that knucklehead represents all of us. The good folks in East Palestine or the Palestinian folks do not deserve what has happened to them. Not only that, folks from Israel, the Jewish community does not deserve what has happened to them. Evil is afoot, and it runs rampant, not only in the Republican House, but throughout this world. See, the House of Cards has now played its last hand. And it's time for those who owe the piper to pay their due. So until next week, knuckleheads, stay safe.
You've been listening to Right, Left, and Center. Our passion is to talk about today's news, politics, the environment, culture, and anything else that helps shape the news in America. Our 2022 season was so strong, we had to come back and smack 2023 right in the mouth. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, rate, and review. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And continue to listen on iHeartRadio, Spotify, or anywhere you download your podcasts. See you next time on Right, Left, and Center.